Right now, somewhere in your house, there is a machine you resent. It sits there. It blinks. It asks for money. And here is the thing nobody tells you about it. Your printer does not squirt ink onto paper. It does not spray it. It does not pour it. It does not push it. Your printer boils ink until it detonates, and then it rides the explosion onto the page. 10,000 times a second, sometimes more. Every single line of that boring tax document you printed was delivered by a controlled blast in a chamber smaller than a grain of salt. So how does a machine survive detonating its own fuel 10,000 times a second and then get completely destroyed by a long weekend of sitting still? Because those two facts are the same fact. And once you see why, you finally find out where all your ink actually went. Tokyo, 1977. A Canon engineer named Ichiro Endo puts down a hot soldering iron. He is not thinking about printers. He puts it down carelessly, and it lands on a syringe full of ink. The syringe spits, not leaks, not drips. It fires a spurt of ink out of the needle because the heat flashed some of that ink into vapor, and the vapor shoved the rest out of the way. Endo looks at this mess on his bench and realizes he is looking at a printer. Within days, he had a working model. Canon filed the basic patent in October of that same year. 2 years later, on the other side of the Pacific, Hewlett-Packard gets there completely independently. A researcher called John Vaught is trying to work out how to put ink on paper without a moving mechanical part. And the thing that gives him the answer is a coffee maker. Water heats, water rises, water spreads itself evenly over the grounds. Heat as a pump. No pistons, no valves, just a phase change doing the work. So the technology in almost every home printer on Earth was invented twice, in 2 countries, by 2 people who were not looking for it. One of them burned a syringe. The other one was watching coffee. And 8 years after that spilled syringe, Canon shipped this. The BJ80. 1985, the world's first bubble jet printer. Every desktop inkjet you have ever owned is a descendant of that box. And that box is a descendant of an afternoon of not paying attention. Genuinely, that is the origin story. That is what we built the ink cartridge economy on top of. Let's get inside the printhead, and I mean actually inside. This is a real thermal inkjet die with the lid off. Those 3 long slots down the middle are where the ink feeds in. The rows running along either side of them are the heaters. That is the entire machine, and the physics in there is legitimately unhinged. Here is how HP drew it. Behind every nozzle is a tiny chamber full of ink, and on the floor of that chamber is a resistor, a heater, roughly 3 ohms, about the size of a speck of dust. Fire current through it, and it heats the ink, touching its surface at more than 100 degrees Celsius per microsecond. Think about your kettle. If yours is glass, you have already watched this happen, bubbles forming on the metal element at the bottom, because that element is the hottest surface in the pot. Same mechanism, entirely. Except your kettle takes 2-3 minutes to reach 100 degrees. This thing blows past 280 in less time than it takes a housefly to flap its wings once. And notice what did not happen. It did not boil at 100 degrees, the way water is supposed to. It went to 280 degrees while still liquid, because the ink had nowhere to start a bubble. No scratch, no speck, no rough edge to nucleate on. This is superheat. It is water that has been dared past its own boiling point and is holding on out of pure spite. Then it snaps. In under 3 microseconds, the whole superheated layer flashes into vapor at once, and a bubble slams outward toward the nozzle. Here is the beautiful part. The instant that vapor bubble exists, it thermally isolates the ink from the heater. Vapor is a rubbish conductor, so no further heat gets in. The explosion switches off its own heater. The bomb comes with a built-in off switch, and the off switch is the bomb. Now, Endo's soldering iron did not come with a valve, and 49 years later, neither does your printer. That is not laziness. That is the whole design. This is HP's original patent, granted at the end of 1984, and this is the actual drawing they filed. There is no valve anywhere in it because there is no room for one and no time for one. What there is instead is a 2-part electrical pulse, and it is a genuinely clever piece of engineering. They drew that too. Pulse 1 is the precursor, the long, low one. It warms the ink up close to the edge and deliberately stops short. The patent's own words are that it holds the resistor below the boiling temperature of the ink. Then pulse 2, the short spike, the nucleation pulse, about 1 amp for 5 microseconds, straight to the superheat limit. Warm-up set, then the lift. You cannot skip the warm-up set. And then the firing cycle, which HP drew 1 panel at a time, so we may as well just walk through their own frames. The bubble nucleates on the resistor. It expands down the channel and shoves ink at the nozzle. The ink bulges out and starts to neck. The drop separates and flies, and then the bubble collapses, and as it collapses, it pulls backward on the ink still in the neck, and that is what pinches the drop free. The droplet is not thrown, it is torn off by the vacuum behind it. Total time from nothing to explosion to a flying drop to nothing again, about 10 microseconds. Then the 6th and last frame. The chamber refills itself. No pump. Capillary action. The same reason a paper towel climbs up out of a spill, a straw that refills itself. Which leaves one question. If there is no valve, what is actually stopping all that ink from just falling out of the hole? Surface tension. That's it. The meniscus is the only bouncer on that door, and he is very small, and he is doing his best. Now hold on to that, because there is a bill for this, and the printhead pays it in blood. When a vapor bubble collapses, it does not fade politely. It slams shut, and the collapsing bubble fires a shockwave straight back down at the resistor that created it. Cavitation. It is the same effect that chews the metal off boat propellers, except this one happens 10,000 times a second, 3 millimeters from where it started. So our angry little kettle spends its entire working life getting punched in the face by its own steam. That is one of 3 killers. The engineers who study printhead failure list them together. Cavitation damage, thermal fatigue, because the whole structure is being cycled from room temperature to nearly 300 degrees and back, constantly. And electromigration, which is current physically shoving metal atoms out of the heater over time. And then there's the 4th one, which has the best name in all of consumer technology. Kogation, from koga, residue. Your ink is not pure water. It has dyes and polymers and additives in it, and when you flash heat that mixture to 280 degrees over and over, some of it does not vaporize. It cooks. It bakes onto the resistor as a crust. It is burnt sugar welded to a pan. Except you cannot scrub this pan. It is inside a sealed head, and every layer of crust makes the heat transfer worse, which makes the next drop weaker. That is why the heater wears a sacrificial protective overcoat. That is why printheads are a consumable at all. The thing is designed to be slowly destroyed by the fluid it exists to move. Nobody puts that on the box. Okay, here is the payoff, and here is where you get properly annoyed, but at physics instead of at a company. The nozzle your ink comes out of is about 25 microns across. Some are 50, some are 75, but the good ones are small, because small holes make small drops, and small drops make sharp text. We are talking about drops of roughly 4 picoliters, 4 trillionths of a liter. You could not see one if I handed it to you. Now, that hole is permanently open. No valve, remember. There is a wet meniscus of ink sitting in it, exposed, waiting. And ink is mostly water. You already know exactly what happens to an uncapped marker pen. You leave the lid off overnight, and by morning, it is dead. Not empty, dead. There is plenty of ink in the barrel. The tip has just crusted over. Now look at a real printhead. Those dark bands are the nozzle arrays. Your printer has hundreds to tens of thousands of those tips, each one narrower than a human hair, all uncapped, all evaporating, all night, while you are asleep. So the printer fights back the only ways it can. It parks the head in a capping station, which is a rubber lid, which is literally the marker pen cap. It spits, firing drops into a sponge just to keep the channels moving. It runs purge cycles that force ink through every nozzle to blow the plugs out. And it wipes the nozzle plate with a rubber lip and dumps the mess into a waste ink reservoir inside the chassis. None of that ink ever touches paper. How much? Repeated cleaning cycles can eat 10 to 25% of a cartridge. Some printers spend 50% or more of their ink on things that are not printing. Consumer testing put the waste at around $100 of ink a year, and the triggers are brutal. Elapsed time, a detected change in temperature or humidity. And power cycling? Switch your printer off and on, and it reprimes the head, which costs you ink, every time. Our angry little kettle cannot ever be allowed to go cold. Let me be really straight with you, because this is the part where explainer videos usually pick a team. The anger about ink is completely justified. Cartridge pricing, chip lockouts, subscriptions to a printer, all of that is real, and none of it is physics. But the specific thing that confuses people most, where did my ink go? I barely printed anything. That part is not a scam. That part is the bill for choosing an ejection method with no moving parts and no valve. 40 years on from the BJ80, the machine sitting on your desk is still running the same trade. A printhead with no pistons that costs almost nothing to make, that fires 4 picoliter drops 10,000 times a second. And the price of that deal is that the door never closes, so the machine has to spend ink keeping its own doors open. Cheap, fast, precise, and permanently thirsty. Pick any 3, you are always getting the 4th one too. 49 years later, we are all still paying for the Tuesday afternoon that a man in Tokyo put his soldering iron down in the wrong place. The interesting part is what happens next. Piezo heads dodge the boiling entirely, tank printers move the ink reservoir out of the head, and every year somebody claims they have finally solved the drying problem. Nobody has. Not while there is still an open hole at the end of it. Either way, I'm Techster, and the next time your printer runs a cleaning cycle at you before it will print 1 page, you now know it is not stalling. It is keeping a very small, very angry kettle from going cold. Hit like, hit subscribe, and tell me down in the comments what else in your house is quietly doing something insane while you assume it is broken. I want to make that one next. And look, this video is AI made, and a real human team went through every line of it before it reached you, because getting the mechanism right is the entire point of a channel like this one. If something still slipped past us, tell me, and it won't happen twice.